Someone has crossed a line. A secret plan has been unfolding behind Tyrone Dobbs' back. And before this shocking day is over, his entire life will be turned upside down by two people he trusted more than anyone else. But sometimes, the biggest family secrets aren't uncovered by adults. They're uncovered by children. And what Hope and Ruby have done could change the Dobbs family forever. For years, Tyrone has convinced himself that one question no longer mattered. Who was his father? It was a mystery that haunted his childhood. A wound he learned to live with. An empty space in his life that could never truly be filled. As a little boy, he was abandoned before he ever had the chance to know the people who brought him into the world. He grew up believing that some answers simply weren't meant to be found. Eventually he stopped looking. Or at least, that's what he told himself. But buried deep beneath that acceptance was something much more painful. A quiet sadness. A lifetime of wondering. A fear that perhaps his father had never wanted him in the first place. It's the kind of question that never completely disappears. No matter how old you become. No matter how happy your life seems. Some scars stay hidden forever. Or so Tyrone believed. Because while he had finally begun rebuilding one broken relationship with his mother Cassie, another chapter of his past remained firmly closed. At least, he thought it did. But that's only the beginning. Because someone else had been thinking about Tyrone's missing father. Someone watching. Someone asking questions. Someone refusing to believe that the mystery should stay unsolved. And that someone was Hope. Hope has never been the kind of girl to accept uncertainty. Curiosity always gets the better of her. Rules rarely stand in her way. And when she decides she wants an answer, she usually finds one. This time, however, her determination is about to unleash consequences that nobody could have imagined. Without Tyrone knowing. Without asking permission. Without considering what might happen next. Hope sets an astonishing plan into motion. But she doesn't do it alone. Ruby is right beside her. Together, the sisters make a decision that will leave their father completely blindsided. The plan sounds almost unbelievable. Little DNA. A family history website. One secret submission. Suddenly, the impossible no longer seems impossible. Could the mystery of Tyrone's father finally be solved? The girls certainly think so. But instead of quietly waiting for answers, they go one step further. A much bigger step. And that's where everything spirals out of control. Because discovering a name isn't enough for Hope. She wants action. She wants answers immediately. She wants to bring the missing pieces of Tyrone's life together herself. So she makes another astonishing decision. Pretending to be Tyrone. She reaches out. A message is sent. A conversation begins. And somewhere, a man receives news he has possibly waited decades to hear. His son wants to meet him. Except, his son has absolutely no idea the message was ever sent. Imagine receiving that invitation. Imagine believing your child finally wanted you in their life. Imagine carrying years of regret. Only to believe you've been given one last chance. That's exactly what Ross Wilkes believes. From his perspective, hope has finally arrived. But it's built on a lie. And lies have a habit of exploding at the worst possible moment. Meanwhile, Tyrone continues with his day, completely unaware that events have already been set in motion. He has no reason to suspect anything unusual. No reason to think his daughters have been quietly rewriting his future. No reason to imagine that within hours, the biggest surprise of his life will walk straight through a restaurant door. But one detail changes everything. Hope and Ruby arrange the impossible. They don't simply uncover Ross. They bring him face to face with Tyrone. Without warning. Without preparation. Without giving anyone time to process the emotional weight of what's about to happen. The setting couldn't seem more ordinary. A family meal at the bistro. Laughter. Conversation. An everyday outing. Yet beneath that calm surface, a life-changing secret waits just around the corner. The girls can barely contain their excitement. They're proud of what they've done. They genuinely believe they're giving their dad the greatest gift imaginable. To them, this isn't betrayal. It's love. It's family. It's fixing something broken. But children don't always understand how complicated adults can be. Especially when decades of hurt are involved. As the conversation unfolds, Hope finally reveals everything. She proudly explains how they secretly obtained Tyrone's DNA. How they sent it away for testing. How they tracked down his father. And then comes the confession nobody sees coming. They contacted Ross while pretending to be Tyrone. Suddenly the atmosphere changes. Every smile disappears. Every heartbeat seems louder. Tyrone's face says it all. Confusion. Disbelief. The scales fall from his eyes in an instant. His daughters haven't simply been curious. They've completely taken control of one of the most personal decisions of his entire life. How do you react to something like that? Do you laugh? Do you cry? Do you feel grateful? Or do you feel utterly betrayed? The answer isn't simple. Because emotions collide all at once. There's anger. There's love. There's panic. And underneath everything, there's fear. Fear of reopening wounds that never truly healed. Fear of meeting the man who was absent throughout an entire childhood. Fear of hearing explanations that may never be enough. Then things become even more complicated. Because Ross arrives. The man Tyrone has never really known. The father who has existed only as an unanswered question for decades. He walks into the bistro believing this meeting was wanted. Believing his son invited him. Believing today marks the beginning of a brand new chapter. But Tyrone never sent that invitation. He never asked for this moment. He never had time to prepare himself emotionally. Everything is happening far too fast. The room falls silent. Nobody knows what comes next. Then Ruby breaks the silence with words that change everything. Say hello to Daddy. It's an innocent sentence. But its impact is devastating. In one brief moment, years of mystery suddenly become reality. The man standing there isn't just a stranger. He's family. Whether Tyrone is ready or not. And that's where the real emotional conflict begins. Because finding your father isn't the same as forgiving him. Meeting someone doesn't erase decades of absence. One conversation cannot replace an entire childhood. Ross may desperately want a relationship. But does Tyrone? Has too much time passed? Can a lifetime of unanswered questions ever truly be resolved? Or is this reunion destined to create even more heartbreak? Those questions linger over every second. Meanwhile, Hope begins realizing that her carefully planned surprise isn't unfolding the way she imagined. She expected happiness. She expected tears of joy. Instead, she watches confusion spread across her father's face. For perhaps the first time, Hope understands that good intentions don't always produce happy endings. Some family wounds are simply too deep. But another question is already beginning to emerge. Why no? Why has Ross suddenly appeared after all these years? Is it simply because he believed Tyrone reached out? Or has he been carrying his own regrets for decades? What has he been doing all this time? Why did he stay away? And perhaps most importantly, can Tyrone ever believe whatever explanation Ross offers? Those answers remain hidden. For now. Yet one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This isn't just Ross entering Tyrone's life. This is Ross entering the lives of Fiz, Hope, Ruby, and everyone connected to the Dobbs family. One reunion has the power to change every relationship around it. Old loyalties will be tested. Fresh tensions will emerge. And difficult conversations can no longer be avoided. Because once someone from the past walks back into your life, nothing stays the same. Especially when children are the ones who open the door. As emotions continue running high, Tyrone finds himself standing at an impossible crossroads. Walk away from the father he never knew. Or risk opening his heart to someone who abandoned him before life had even begun. Neither choice feels easy. Neither choice feels safe. And perhaps that's exactly what makes this story so heartbreaking. Sometimes the greatest shock isn't discovering who your family is. It's deciding whether you still want them to become part of your future. For Hope and Ruby, this was meant to be the ultimate surprise. A happy ending. A family finally reunited. But reality is far more complicated than they ever imagined. Because love cannot erase pain overnight. Trust cannot be rebuilt in a single meeting. And forgiveness is never guaranteed. As Ross waits for Tyrone's response, the future of this fractured family hangs by a thread. Will Tyrone finally embrace the father he's spent a lifetime without? Will years of abandonment prove impossible to overcome? Or has Hope's well-meaning plan unleashed emotional consequences that nobody can control? One thing is certain. The biggest surprise wasn't discovering Tyrone's father. The biggest surprise was how that discovery happened. And if this emotional reunion is only the beginning, the next chapter of the Dobbs family's story could prove even more shocking than the secret that brought them together.